My boyfriend, whom we'll refer to as Mark, and I, whom we'll call Lisa, have been in a relationship for nearly 5 years. Throughout this time, I've come to a heartbreaking realization that he is cheating on me, although he remains blissfully unaware of his actions. Let me take you through the backstory that led me to this painful conclusion. There's this girl who fits the cliché of the type of friend that a partner always insists you shouldn't worry about. For the sake of this narrative, let's name her Sarah. Mark and Sarah have been friends for quite a while, almost since the early days of our relationship. Initially, we all worked together, so I was familiar with her before the complications began. The very first time concerns arose, just a few months into our relationship, was when Sarah boldly declared her love for Mark. Despite his rejection, their friendship persisted, and she eventually moved out of state for a while. It was a tumultuous period, but I believed that with her away, things would settle down. A few months later, I decided to take a spontaneous road trip with my mother. Coincidentally, Mark chose to go on an adventure of his own with his best friend. During their journey, they made a stop near where Sarah had relocated. After a long day of hiking, she proposed that they share a hotel room for the night, avoiding the exhausting drive back home. The arrangement seemed harmless. The room had 2 queen-sized beds. However, Mark's friend, who was initially reluctant to share a bed, was eventually convinced by both Mark and Sarah that I wouldn't mind their arrangement. They never even asked for my opinion, and had they done so, I would have firmly said no. Upon Sarah's return to our state for the summer, she began to spend time with Mark again. Their interactions were casual at first, but later became more frequent and concerning. A few months down the line, Sarah requested Mark's help in moving again. This time, she needed assistance transporting her belongings to a new home in another state. This trip would involve a 2-week car journey and considerable time spent together as he helped her settle in. When Mark approached me, asking if I was okay with him going, I couldn't help but feel uneasy. Despite my discomfort and instinct that it was inappropriate, Mark seemed frustrated but ultimately honored my wishes and didn't go. For a while, life settled back into a calm routine. However, everything took a sharp turn when Sarah moved back again a few months ago. It all began innocently enough at our gym, where she decided to sign up at the same facility we frequented. Mark and I have our own workout routines that sometimes align in the mornings, and this gave her a perfect opportunity to weave herself into his daily life. At first, she merely followed his workout schedule. But things escalated quickly. Sarah began to flirt openly, touching him on shoulders and playfully nudging him during exercises. It was a gradual but deliberate shift that made my stomach churn. After noticing her behavior, I felt it was imperative to have a conversation with Mark about how uncomfortable this made me feel and my desire for him to establish boundaries with her. I refrained from issuing ultimatums or demanding he cut ties completely because I didn't want to come off as the toxic girlfriend he sometimes mentioned. I hoped he would recognize the issues on his own. To my dismay, the flirting and physical interactions not only continued but intensified. To make matters worse, I discovered that Mark never actually discussed any boundaries with Sarah, despite my pleas for him to do so. Their encounters slowly seeped outside the gym, and the next thing I knew, they were hanging out at her house frequently. It's crucial to understand that my family dynamics are complicated, and Mark has always craved the kind of attention and warmth that comes from a typical family setup, something he finds in Sarah's family. As time went on, he started going over to her place more often without even asking for my permission or informing me of his plans. Instead, he lied, fabricating stories about being with friends or running errands. This behavior did not escape my notice. I have the means to track his location, allowing me a glimpse into the reality he was trying to hide. The disheartening truth is clear as day. I know when he's at her house. Each time I see his location, my heart sinks further. It's not just the betrayal that cuts deep, but the feeling of being powerless in a situation I wish to control. The trust that once tightly bound us is unraveling, thread by thread, as I navigate my emotional turmoil, feeling more alone than ever in what should be a partnership filled with love and honesty. Every time I think about the depth of his deceit, it strikes me like a thunderbolt. I find myself grappling with a potent mix of sadness, betrayal, and desperation. I want to confront him, to express how deeply his actions hurt me and how they jeopardize our relationship. Yet, I fear that the response I would receive may only deepen the rift that's already gaping between us. So, I remain here, caught in this painful limbo, wondering how to regain the love and trust we once shared before Sarah's shadow loomed so large over our bond. As time went on, my mind began to spiral into a whirlpool of paranoia. Each moment that he failed to respond to my messages, whether it was a simple text or a snap on social media, sent a jolt of anxiety through me. It was a behavior that I couldn't shake off. I found myself checking his location obsessively, my breath hitching every time I saw the familiar pin drop in an unfamiliar spot. There he was. With her. Any time I looked over my shoulder, practically every time I became anxious. Today was supposed to be like any other day. I'd wake up, go to work, and conquer the day as I had done countless times before. It felt good to inform him in advance that I would be finishing earlier than usual. I'll be home soon, I told him, hoping we could kick back, relax, and enjoy a show together. My heart fluttered with a blend of excitement and hesitation. Yet, as the hours ticked away, I couldn't help but send him a message 2 hours ago, letting him know that my shift was coming to an end and I was making my way back. When I glanced at my phone, anticipation bubbling within me, I was met with crushing disappointment. He hadn't opened my message. An hour passed before I mustered the courage to check his location again, my heart racing as I did so. And there it was, plain as day. He was out with her. It was a punch to the gut. He had chosen her over our plans, disregarding what we had intended to do together. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but the gnawing feeling in my stomach told me something troubling. From what he had let slip in past conversations and the distance he had kept lately, I struggled with a looming doubt. Were they crossing boundaries? I couldn't say for sure. He had assured me that they were just friends, but how could I truly believe that when I felt so detached from him? The weight of depression had settled on my chest like a heavy quilt, smothering and suffocating. He had once pretended to care, to want to mend our fragile relationship, but now I had to wonder, was any of it real, or was it just a facade he was maintaining out of sheer obligation? I found my thoughts racing, tangled in confusion. Was this really cheating? Maybe I was overthinking everything. In the aftermath, I made the impulsive decision to stay on a friend's couch for the time being, gathering whatever I could carry and leaving the rest behind. My belongings remained at our place, but I couldn't bear it any longer. It wasn't a planned move, but an instinctive reaction to a situation that had reached a boiling point. I didn't initially intend to share my feelings or provide an update on my situation. I hadn't even bothered to check the messages or comments from others until today. Writing this was merely an outlet for my swirling emotions. But their words resonated with me, and I felt a strange comfort knowing that I wasn't alone in this. You're right, I murmured as I read through the responses. I took it upon myself to reach out to both my therapist and my mother for their perspectives. It was enlightening. They both pinpointed the glaring red flags that I had been so eager to overlook. They gently revealed the things I had successfully brushed aside, disregarding them like cobwebs in the corners of my thoughts. Meanwhile, he was reaching out, anxious to reconnect, to understand my whereabouts and what had gone wrong between us. It was evident he didn't want to accept the possibility that he had caused me pain. Despite his insistence that he loved me, there was an unsettling feeling gnawing at me. I couldn't shake the notion that his feelings, while potentially sincere, weren't founded on a solid foundation. Had he truly given up on nurturing our relationship long ago? It felt as if he had simply been going through the motions, clinging to remnants of our love while drifting further away. I asked myself, am I okay? The answer, painfully clear, was no. Yet, the thought of recovery flickered within me, hinting at the dawn of healing. Will I be okay in time? I pondered, feeling a small thread of hope weaving through my uncertainty. I was resourceful, and although I found myself in need of a more stable situation than a friend's couch, I was determined. Rent prices loomed like shadows over my thoughts, and I questioned if I could manage alone without his support. However, I resolved that I would sort it out, step by step. One reassuring factor kept me grounded: my friends were rallying behind me. A robust network of support surrounded me, checking in regularly, making sure I was safe and cared for. Their encouraging words became a lifeline, sparking a flicker of strength within me. I was willing to confront whatever lay ahead, one day at a time, armed with the understanding that it was my journey to walk, and I wouldn't have to navigate it alone. I feel immense gratitude towards those who stood by me during my journey. Although I can't share every detail right now, I am relieved to say that I have moved on and I am safe. Just yesterday, I met up with him to have a final conversation, an essential step to clear the air and formally conclude our relationship. During our chat, he brought up a post I made, pointing out that some facts were not entirely accurate. So, to clarify, our road trip lasted 1 week, not 2. That's the main discrepancy worth mentioning. Beyond that, our discussion was filled with him asserting that I hadn't given him enough attention, labeling me as toxic and insisting that I was the source of the problems in our relationship. He even had the audacity to joke with his friends about losing the towels, the ones I bought, and the divorce, treating our 5 years together as if they were insignificant. It was astonishing to hear him say that now that I was no longer in his life, he felt ready to find his own apartment, journey around the world, and indulge himself in experiences he hadn't been willing to share with me. Can you imagine? I listened quietly for about an hour, suppressing most of my thoughts because frankly, he doesn't deserve to hear what I feel anymore. I've come to realize that he only reinforced my decision to walk away from the relationship. Part of me feels sympathy for the next woman who falls prey to his neglect and emotional detachment. I truly hope she recognizes the warning signs I was too blinded to see and leaves before it's too late. I wish him growth and introspection, but not alongside me. Fast forward a few months later and I discover she's now his girlfriend. It's almost comical, he's taking her to all the places we used to go, consciously or unconsciously trying to replace me. Can you believe it? But here's the silver lining in this story. His indifference and emotional abuse compelled me to find myself in the right place at the right time to cross paths with an incredible man, someone who truly deserves my affection. I'm thrilled to share that he's taken, sorry to say, ladies, he's officially off the market. In just a few months, we'll be moving in together, and the way he treats me is nothing short of perfect. For anyone feeling trapped in a toxic or abusive relationship, questioning whether there's a brighter path, let me reassure you, there absolutely is. I found mine, and I couldn't be happier. If he asked me to marry him today, without hesitation, I would say yes. It's extraordinary how many people tell you, you just know when you've found the right person, and I never really believed them. But here I am, feeling it deeply within my heart. He is absolutely the one for me. I have no desire for anyone else. He fills my life with joy and love in ways I never thought possible. I am incredibly thankful for the winding journey that led me to him. Each experience, every tear, and all the moments of pain contributed to guiding me towards my new beginning. I firmly believe that everything happens for a reason. If my story resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe for more. I'd love to hear your advice on the steps I should take. Keep in touch for future stories.